It sure is a nice house. Remember the corn in the other video? Almost 7 feet tall already. That one's about maybe on average 4. Well, it all started in 1812 when the British defeated the French. The French said things like, it must have been God's will. God must be punishing us for some sins that we did, that we committed. You gotta read Culture of Defeat by Wolfgang Schivelbusch. Wolfgang Schivelbusch wrote Culture of Defeat. And it's a book about empires that were defeated. They always had some excuse, something to explain why they lost the war. Wow, look at the size of that bison. That's a good sized bison right there. So yeah, the French would say things like, we must have sinned. Nothing else could explain why they lost the war against the English. Of course, the English were saying it was God's will. We're God's chosen people. God has looked down upon us, pouring upon us His countenance and His blessing. God is for us. Who can be against us? Well, the reality of all that was the French in Canada got left behind by the French Empire. Kind of like a video game. Civilization or something with orcs. And a whole group of settlers got stolen from some invading force, the English. And in Civilization, when you play that game, when you conquer a civilization, they're not nice to you for a really long time. And ever since the French lost the war of 1812, well, it's 2021 and they're still pissed off. They're still miserable, pissed off that they lost. And of course, the British are just rubbing their nose in it, well, the English, British Empire, whatever. I shouldn't say whatever, because it does have real life implications. But that's when it all started. And when the British Empire took over, they weren't nice about it. The French had killed many British soldiers, captured them and tortured them. The British Empire was not happy about that. So you think they were nice to the French? Oh, we're going to have peace now. That's what they teach you in social studies in school. After the War of 1812, the French surrendered to the British and there was peace. Bullshit. There wasn't fucking peace. Not for the French. You can ask them today, are you living in peace? No. We're not living in peace, Nelson. There's never peace. I stopped in at the truck stop in North Bay. Never stopped there before, but I feasted. Oh my goodness, I feasted. I'm so full. I had the hot beef sandwich. And they pile it on, man. They pile on that beef and that gravy, and they give you a plate of fries with gravy. It's just a huge pile of fries, and then they throw in something like 3 full carrots that have been cooked in butter. Flavored butter. I couldn't eat it all. I had to save room for the lemon meringue pie. Englehart. This is the Englehart River. It may as well be called English Heart River. Englehart River. As if it's always been called Englehart River. Like it's always been here. Englehart. And it hasn't. So it's a good place to eat if you want to stop there and eat. You can probably sleep there if you need to sleep. I thought there was a forest fire going on around here. It looks like it was coming out of those smokestacks. What is that? Some kind of pulp mill? It's probably pulp. This is a pulp and paper town. Yep. I was right. There's no forest fire, it's this damn pollution. There's a Tim Hortons, I could have parked there. Tim Hortons isn't in the cards for me today. I had to aim for the sweet spot. But the road is sometimes worse than those railroad tracks. coffee was real good too. I had 3 cups. They were small cups, mind you. Well, this road is relatively uneventful. But we're headed towards Campus Casing. There's a Flying J up there. That's where I'm going to refuel. Maybe I'll take a video of that for you. It'll be nighttime. Wabi Wawa Road. Wabi Wawa. That sounds like the language of the Anishinaabe. After the War of 1812, when the British defeated the French negotiated, and they had no power to negotiate because they were defeated. So they just took whatever the British gave them, and the British weren't even nice about it, and they didn't have to be. The French could have said, well, then we're going to just go to war with you. We're just going to keep fighting in the war. And the British would have just said, well, you could, but we'll just keep fighting too. And since you've already lost, you'll just keep losing. We'll fight to the death, the French could have said. And the British said, well, then you'll die. But that's not how it went. In this case, if the French wanted to survive here in Canada, they had to negotiate something. So they took what they got, and they damn well took it too. And I'm going to tell you right now that you could go into the library and research and read for yourself what was said in those meetings. What were the kind of things that the French were saying amongst each other in terms of trying to reach an agreement with the English? What were they saying in their secret quarters and secret rooms and secret war rooms? How did the architects of the French Empire, who were struggling to hang on in Canada here, what were they saying? You could go into the libraries and into the archives, and you'll find out what they were talking about, what their plans were, what their goals were, and as you read, you can find out whether or not they were successful. And what you'll find is that they were not successful. They damn well took what the British gave them and allowed them to have. Now the British, you could do the same thing. You could go into the libraries and archives and read about what they were saying. What were they afraid of? Were they afraid of going back to war? So what were they willing to negotiate to prevent further warfare? What kinds of things did they have to think about in terms of their allies with the Indians who helped them win that war? And you can do that back and forth between the French and the English. you'll discover that there is a power play going on, some kind of social engineering, in reference to how we're going to negotiate this peace so that we at least have some, everyone has something, but the British have it all. If we're going to surrender, the British win. So how do we win having lost the war? That's the War of 1812. That's how that went. And we're living in the consequences of those designs today. And the French upper class at the time, they got what they got, which would be far less than what the British have gained. Well, the British walked right into the French homeland and took whatever they wanted. They kicked out families out of their homes. This is ours now. Get the fuck out. And if you didn't leave, you'd get raped. You'd get murdered. That's how that went. So you damn well had to take what you got. And you fucked off, too. I don't say it like that in favor of the English, because I'm not for the English or the French, but that's how it went. We make movies about that. You don't learn about it in school. What you learn is the French surrendered to the British and there was peace. Bullshit. There was no peace. There is still no peace. But the French elite are still negotiating with the British elite. And they're still taking whatever they can get. And they're still second best to the English in terms of their capitalism and social engineering, social control. The British have defeated the French. And that's how it is. And that's why French farms look uglier than British farms. That's why the province of Quebec is always going to be miserable. And that's why the English empire that remains here in Canada through capitalism will always rub it into the faces of the French. Because in the competition of capitalism, you're always going to have second best. And in the white race, racism, white races, the white race, French are not white enough, and they will never be white enough. They haven't gotten to the Czechoslovakians or the Polish or the Ukrainians or the Russians. But you're not white. There can only be one white race, and you're not it. That's what you would call white relations, white race relations in Canada, or race relations of white people in Canada. You can be white, but when it comes down to it, if you're not English, you're not white enough. Oh, they'll do business with you. But you're going to pay. And if you want to do business, you will pay. That's how it is. White race relations in Canada. That's what it's called.